Let's take a second and imagine we're one of these kind of male feminist types, all right? And we're actually tuned into what women say and we're eager to do what they say a good man should do, real men and what they should do. And one day the women say, yeah, we want you to be more vulnerable. Open up. Show some emotion because, we love that. And sensitive men are attractive. And so you think, all right, sounds good. You start opening up more in your relationships, sharing your stress, your fears, your concerns, and maybe even, some trauma from the past, some legitimate trauma. And then the message flips and it becomes, hey, stop dumping your emotional baggage on women. That's unpaid emotional labor, and you're making her carry too much. Well, suddenly you're caught between two completely opposite instructions. Be open, but don't burden her. Be vulnerable, but not too vulnerable. And this is what happens when you actually follow women's advice on how to be a man. You end up twisted like a pretzel trying to please a moving target. And at the core of all of this is a growing worldview among young women. The idea of unpaid labor. And they use this workplace language to reframe relationships as exploitation, which brings me to this Vice post I saw. Managing his stress, interpreting his moods, holding his hand through feelings he won't share with anyone else, all of it unpaid, unacknowledged, and often unreciprocated. Is it any wonder women are fed up? And so here's the actual article. And it says here, mankeeping is why more and more women are done with dating. Mankeeping is why women are done with dating. Researchers at Stanford have finally given a name to something many women have been dealing with for years. It's called mankeeping, and it's helping explain why so many women are stepping away from dating altogether. Mankeeping describes the emotional labor women end up doing in heterosexual relationships, and it goes beyond remembering birthdays or coordinating social plans. It means being your partner's one-man support system. Managing his stress, God forbid, interpreting his moods, God forbid, and holding his hand through feelings he won't share with anyone else. Okay, when did that become a bad thing? All of it unpaid, unacknowledged, and often unreciprocated. The root of the issue is tied to what experts are calling the male loneliness epidemic. As more men report having fewer close friendships, romantic partners are expected to pick up the slack. Instead of processing with friends, many men offload everything onto the woman they're dating. She becomes his entire emotional infrastructure. Mankeeping is why more and more women are done with dating. Let's see here. Plenty of women are no longer interested in that dynamic. According to Pew Research, only 38% of single women in the U.S. are currently looking for a relationship. Among single men, that number jumps to 61%. The gap says a lot. It sure does. Women aren't opting out of love. They're opting out of being someone's therapist with benefits. The Guardian calls mankeeping a modern extension of emotional labor, one that turns a partner into a life coach. This isn't about avoiding vulnerability. It's about refusing to carry someone else's emotional weight while getting little to nothing in return. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Some men have started opening up more, which is good, but too often that openness lands in the lap of the person they're sleeping with instead of a friend or a therapist. Vulnerability without boundaries can feel more like a burden than a breakthrough. What women want is not complicated. They want shared effort, mutual support, emotional responsibility that doesn't get passed off like a group project. And when that doesn't happen, they're choosing solitude over stress, and they're not apologizing for it. Some women are called bitter for stepping back from dating. Others are labeled cold. What they're really doing is protecting their capacity. The choice is to stay single rarely comes from defeat. It comes from knowing exactly how much energy they have left to give. Until that imbalance shifts, more women will keep walking away. Being alone is easier than managing someone else's emotional life. As far as the actual topic in this article, mankeeping, it is just kind of a way for women to repackage effort and care as, unpaid labor and therefore as oppression and being unappreciated. And once again, this feeds into the image of the overstimulated, overburdened, exhausted, worn out, beat down woman who's supposedly been holding everything up for centuries. It just hands her more victim currency. And it's opportunistic. A while ago, I had mentioned that the whole male loneliness epidemic and the popularity of it and everybody talking about it's kind of a psyop. Because first off, female loneliness has also increased. Yes, male loneliness is higher, but female loneliness has also spiked. So why the hyper focus on men? Oh, you think it's because they care about you? I think that's what a lot of guys first took it as. Oh, wow, they're showing some sympathy. But if you haven't noticed yet, let me paint it clearly. This is just men are going through something and women are most affected. Because now it's women who have to bear the burden of male loneliness. They are the true sufferers. Because, the patriarchy is stunting men's ability to connect. Men aren't forming real bonds due to their emotional and social deficiencies perpetuated by the patriarchy. So now women have to be the ones to listen to the men complain. Women have to be the ones to tell the men, it's going to be okay. Women have to carry men through their struggles. If we really want to talk about the state of men and women, men's self-reported happiness is currently higher than women's. Meanwhile, women have been on a drastic decline. So since the 1970s, their self-reported happiness has tanked. And it's because they can't handle modernity. I'm sure they would point to things like mankeeping, and they would say that's why. But the truth is, they can't handle stress and responsibility the way men can. Clearly. There is this constant complaining, constant victimhood, constant nagging, and an outright refusal to be accountable. And before feminism, women's self-reported happiness was actually higher than men's. So in the 1970s, they were happier than men. Before the 1970s, they were happier than men. So what changed? Women en masse went into the workforce. And now here we are. So again, mankeeping is just another invented term to describe something both sexes do in a relationship, but rebranded as something only women do. And that way it can be gendered and turned into victim currency to be deposited in a woman's account. And once that happens, accountability is off the table. It justifies her leaving. It justifies not having children. It justifies the 70 to 90% of divorces that women initiate. It justifies the nagging, the complaining, the resentment. And all the while, she gets to look at herself in the mirror and believe she's the hero holding everything together. Because, she's the overworked, overburdened, burnt out saint of man-keeping. It's clear they are not built to be wives. They can't even handle girlfriend-level effort without claiming to be completely drained. And so they keep inventing labels that truly reveal how unprepared and incompetent they are in real human relationships. Sociopaths.